9 things I stopped buying to make more money. In a world that constantly tells you what you should buy and how beneficial it is for you, it can be really easy to lose sight of what truly matters for you, your financial well-being. As someone who has experienced the highs and lows of reckless spending, I knew it was time to make change in my life. I'm Ella Rivkin, financial freedom expert. If you subscribe to my channel, you will get access to my ultimate financial freedom system that will identify how much money you need to be financially secure, how much capital you need to start your investment journey, and most importantly, how long it will take you to become financially secure. Watch this video to discover 9 things I stopped buying to make more money. And the last one was a game changer for me. So let's dive into the topics that's all about maximizing those hard-earned dollars. The first one is delayed home purchase. While everyone is dreaming of the American dream is to have its own home, they're not actually considering the financial responsibilities and titles. So I actually got trapped in this as well. I had a dream to purchase my own home, and in fact I did, not just one, but 2. But what I didn't realize when I was purchasing this home is how much financial responsibility it actually entailed. So besides just paying the mortgage, the insurance, the real estate tax, there's so many unpredictable expenses that you pay for just having this house. I remember this very vividly. I got really lucky that my husband is a very good handyman, because he fixed the bathrooms, built the bathrooms, and took care of all the maintenance in the house. But the certain things that he couldn't do, we had to hire someone and pay for it. So what I actually decided right now that I moved to Miami, that I'm not gonna buy a house, I'm gonna delay the home purchase until I have enough money saved and invested to produce passive income to pay for all these maintenance expenses. Second one is vacation home avoidance. Buying a vacation home was always a dream for me. I always wanted to buy a vacation house on the beach because I love beach so much, and I would always go with my kids on vacation anywhere that has a beach. My dream came to a realization. I purchased a condominium on the beach. But then what I actually realized later on is that I caught myself on the idea that every time that we're going on vacation, we have to go to this house just to justify the money spent on buying this investment property. Our friends started inviting us to go to Cancun, to go to Dominican, all these fancy places. But since we already had this investment property in Miami, then logically it was for us to go there versus spending all the money and going somewhere else. I mean, you might think it's a great idea to have your own vacation home. This is how I was thinking. But what I actually didn't realize is the financial responsibility it entailed just to keep this investment property. So besides just buying this property, I also had to pay the insurance, I had to pay the real estate tax, and plus the maintenance. And then on top of that, all the things that went unexpectedly wrong in this property, especially during the storms. So what I decided to do is I decided to find a better use of my money and then start investing them. The third thing that I stopped spending my money on is on investments in a single unit properties. So I used to do it all. Used to have single apartments in condominium, used to have commercial, did flips, foreclosure, Airbnb, used to have townhouses. But then later on, what I realized is that there was always a challenge. And challenge first, the challenge with the tenants, because you have tenants, they pay for the rent, then everything is good. But when the tenant leaves, for the moment until you have a tenant, you still have to pay for all the expenses. You still have to pay for the real estate tax, insurance, maintenance, and all the other bills. Also, when there's some kind of problems, and we had a lot of them, is then the tenants start calling you. It's whether there's a toilet clogged, or there's a water is leaking, then someone has to fix this. So I was very blessed that my husband used to do this. But when we were living in New York and then we had the investment properties in Miami, then obviously he couldn't do that. Then we had to hire someone else and we had to pay for it. So later on, what I realized is when I started writing down all these expenses that I'm spending the money on and then how much I'm actually making, it turned out that I wasn't making anything. In fact, I was losing money. So now what I do is we invest in the multi-family. Typically what we do is we buy over 100 units in apartment complexes. So it can be 100 units, 200, 300 units. It gives us a lot of opportunities because we don't have to worry about the maintenance because we have enough money to pay someone else to take care of it. We have enough money to pay to the management company to take care of all of this. And then most importantly, we don't have to worry about tenants leaving and then for the apartment to be empty and losing this income. So the next thing, the fourth thing I stopped spending my money on is on remodeling and renovations. So when I used to have my own home, not only one, and then plus this all rental investment properties. So the first thing what I typically would do is I buy the property and then I start remodeling and renovating. I didn't calculate along the road like how much it costs. Typically, when you start doing, they giving you an estimated the price, but then once you finish with all of that, it comes out like to double of what they originally estimated and what you originally anticipated to pay for it. And then you're thinking, oh, okay, I'm doing all this remodeling and renovations and it's gonna increase the value of the property. But then actually when you sell the property and then you can identify it, okay, how much you purchased it for, how much you invested in all this remodeling and renovations and how much you're selling, are you actually making the profit? So what it turned out for me, that I wasn't making any profit, it was all turned out to be an expense. So the fifth thing that I stopped spending my money on is buying fancy furniture. Typically what I used to do is when I buy my house or I buy my vacation home, the next thing is, okay, now you wanna buy this fancy, nice furniture because you wanna make sure that your apartment looks beautiful and nice. So what I would do is I would buy all this fancy furniture, order from Italy, but then later on when I sold my house and I moved, I realized that no one cares about this fancy furniture. It has no sentimental value to anyone except you. No one cares like how much you bought it for, where did it came from. Like it didn't matter. And I realized it was just all waste of money. The sixth thing that I stopped spending my money on is on home decoration. So again, typically what I would do is I buy the house and then obviously I start remodeling and renovations, but then also I want do like this beautiful home decoration. Like I really hated when my walls were white and they were empty and was it all fancy. So I would spend money on all this home decoration and then I would hire a home decorator. But again, later on, what I realized is when I sold the house is no one cared about it. And especially like when the other person comes in, they just want to tear this whole down, renovate this whole thing, and they just want to do whatever it is that they like for the house to look like. So it just turns out it's a waste of money. The seventh thing that I stopped spending my money on is on unnecessary luxury items. So what I actually realized when I was selling my house and I was downsizing myself and going through the closet, I saw there's so many items that I had sitting in my closet that I never wore, like shoes and bags and clothes. There were so many of these luxury items that I spent my money on, and it just turned out that I had to give them away for donations or just simply to anyone that I know. Because again, like no one cared about how much I spent on it, and I definitely didn't need them anymore, especially those winter clothes because I was moving from New York to Miami. But then when I was going like through all these boxes and all these clothes that I had, I was literally like calculating, oh my God, like how much money I spent on all these unnecessary luxury items that I never used. And then if I would have taken all this money and an investment and produce passive income, so not doing this anymore. The eighth thing that I stopped spending my money on is investing into the single portfolios. So now what I do is I diversify. So if it's a real estate portfolio, again, I mentioned before, like I don't buy anymore like the single family houses, even though I'm investing in this multifamily units. I have a rule. Let's say if I have 100,000 to invest, I don't just put all 100,000 in at one property. Then I would put, let's say, in 5 properties, like 20,000 for each property. The same goes, like, let's say you have 200,000, then you just don't put all 200,000 in one property. You would diversify between 5 or 10 properties. So that's my rule. And the same thing applies when I do other investments. Like stocks, private equity, bonds, or whatever it is that I do. I don't just put all my money on this single investment. I would diversify. And the reason for that is because you want to spread the risk. Let's say if there's one property located in one state that is not doing very well because there's some kind of law changes, then you don't want to lose all of your money. I don't just diversify through the properties, but then I also diversify through the states. So that gives me even bigger diversification. So in the same thing goes with the stocks. Let's say if you're just buying one stock and then there's some unexpected news or something happens and then the stock goes down, so then you're losing your money. But then if you're diversifying in different stocks and you have that stock portfolio, then you know that even if that one stock goes down, then the other stocks are doing well. The last thing is I don't spend my money on emotional items. So what I actually caught myself on is whenever I go on vacation or whenever I go simply to the mall, or there's some kind of like an experience that we go through when you go like to the parks or something, then you wanna, you're part of this experience and then you wanna get something to remember. But then what I realized is that you buy this item from the parks or from the vacation sites that you visit, and then you come home and there's no use for it, and it just clutters your apartment, it clutters your house. So what I realized when I was moving and I was downsizing from my house is that like all these items that I purchased, they were just cluttering my house, and it's just such a waste of money, because especially when you purchase them when you're on vacation, or like all these parks that you go to, they literally cost like arm and a leg. So I realized that it's just a waste of money and I stopped spending money on that. So here are 9 things I stopped buying to make more money. First, buying a home. Second, a vacation home. Third, investing in a single unit properties. Fourth, I stopped spending money on remodeling and renovations. Fifth, practical furniture choices. I stopped buying all this fancy furniture. Sixth, I stopped spending money on home decoration. 7, stop spending money on luxury items. 8, diversify investment portfolio. I don't just buy single investment portfolios. And lastly, the 9th one is spending my money on emotional items. Please share in the comments what are the things that you stopped buying and started making more money. Please share your experiences. I really would love to know. And remember, it's all in your hands.